scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
And another good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio. As it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood that is Kutztown University. So I make perhaps a Mr. Fred Rogers reference there to start the show off. But anyways, as we move along here, it's in some regards it's like Christmas Eve in the NFL world, and especially to some extent, I guess you could say, with the Philadelphia Eagles and the draft. There's some little background noise, I guess, leaking through the computer here for some silly reason on one of these tabs that I have open and everything. So I guess I'll kill that. But whatever. We got all kinds of NFL draft talk to get to today, as especially pertains to the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously the main story is obviously whether you believe it or not or whatever. I mean, it is whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles make some kind of move to go up and get Marcus Mariota, and whether this whole thing with them bringing in Sam Bradford is whether or not maybe he was just a trade piece or something like that. It's just, they signed him, they brought him over. He's on a 1-year deal from, the St. Louis Rams, and it's one of these things. I mean, they gave Nick Foles in the trade, who is obviously he doesn't really have a franchise quarterback's salary like Sam Bradford does. They bring Sam Bradford over, $13 million. He's got 1 year left on the deal. They never signed him to an extension yet or anything like that. So as far as him being the long-term franchise quarterback, and this is one of the things I've been talking about, for the past month and a half or however long it's been since they signed Sam Bradford. If he's the ideal franchise quarterback going forward here, are they going to sign him to an extension or something? And there was reports yesterday that Bradford wanted a no trade clause placed on him and everything, and we'll find out tomorrow when the NFL draft kicks off. And certainly it's going to be, at least one sense or another, especially for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's going to be the draft of a lifetime as it pertains to the Eagles and this Chip Kelly era and everything. Yeah, it's going to be quite fun to watch and stay tuned for. I mean, there's you look through the various mock drafts, and obviously Jameis Winston is widely regarded fairly unanimously, I guess, unless you're Ron Jaworski the other week ago. Jameis Winston is widely regarded as, the first pick of this year's NFL draft. No surprises there. But I mean, it's pretty much after that. I mean, the Tennessee Titans. Do you pass up on Marcus Mariota, or do you take him, or is this a spot for the Philadelphia Eagles to trade up and, I guess give up a significant amount or have some kind of three-way trade that's been brought up, in the last week or so with the San Diego Chargers that are supposedly there's all kinds of possibilities, I guess you could say, as far as who gets picked. Or do the Tennessee Titans stick with Zach Mettenberger? I guess a more conventional quarterback there for Ken Wisenhunt. All kinds, we'll have all kinds of talk regarding these possible draft scenarios and in trade scenarios, whether Chip Kelly likes it or not.
You got nothing to talk about on sports radio. Let's talk about trades.
Which he said, last month in a press conference where he was required to speak. So he actually got something out of him there, and that was one of the things, because it's been circulating. The rumors have been circulating for months now. as far as whether it be getting a trade, trading up to get Marcus Mariota or whatever. I mean, if you look through a lot of history of speculation and things that Chip Kelly has said over the past couple of years or whatever, running this franchise, or to whatever extent he's been running it at, and now he's really, ever since early January with the demotion of Howie Roseman, essentially Chip Kelly has been, riding this ship pretty much to the full extent. As I have some kind of internet. One of these internet tabs is guilty of just randomly starting advertisements against my will, and it's hard to, these days to pick out and find out what is going on in the middle of the program here as I'm trying to talk, and we got some kind of advertisement popping up, and there's nothing more, I guess, frustrating than that when I'm trying to talk here and these silly advertisements pop up. But anyways, as I was trying to say before I was getting interrupted here, I'm just trying to do a radio program. But not that they know, but so many things over the course here. Chip Kelly now has full power over this franchise, essentially, as long as Jeffrey Lurie is the owner, and basically put Chip Kelly, and that gave Chip Kelly all that power. But, regardless of what involvement Howie Roseman has had, there's been, over time here with the Philadelphia Eagles, and especially over the past year. I mean, last year, remember when there were, murmurs about Deshaun Jackson and not maybe fitting in with the, the Chip Kelly culture or whatever, and that they might, try to get rid of him or whatever. And, a lot of people thought, yeah, there's no way. And then, eventually, surely enough, even though Chip Kelly says, I like Deshaun. And then he would say, well, we're going to do what's best for this organization, whatever. And sure enough, speculation after, a lot of speculation circling around. And I remember very vividly after a Twitter post, or maybe it was Instagram, I don't know, but Deshaun Jackson, when people were questioning the relationship between Chip Kelly and Deshaun Jackson posted on his Instagram or Twitter, whichever it was, a picture of them, of course, at training camp with Chip Kelly with this, I don't know, like this yellow pad on a stick of Chip Kelly chasing Deshaun Jackson on a hot summer day in the training camp prior to what would have been that season there with Chip Kelly and Deshaun Jackson before things before Deshaun Jackson was jettisoned out. It's kind of like one of those situations. He posts that, and then just a day or two later or whatever it was, Deshaun Jackson was out of here from Philadelphia. And surely enough, the speculation became true. And then you go down, I don't know, you go down through the list of time here. And you had LaShawn McCoy. There was starting to be, and throughout this past season, Chip Kelly never really said anything great about LaShawn McCoy and I guess his running style or whatever, or however you want to phrase it. And, there started to become a lot of speculation like, Chip Kelly, probably going to get rid of either LaShawn McCoy or Jeremy Maclin. Are they going to pay both of them? And surely enough, with the whole the criticisms, the criticisms with certainly LaShawn McCoy, I guess the rumors of Chip Kelly not liking his run style and whatever else, the criticisms and everything. He brought Darren Sproles over, and he, even though Darren Sproles wasn't used that much really in the run game, and as far as getting carries goes, it was certainly one of these things where Chip Kelly, he kind of praised Darren Sproles at times, but never LaShawn McCoy. And then surely enough, eventually, LaShawn McCoy was offered another deal here to take a pay cut, and I guess it was a valued decision, and LaShawn McCoy didn't want to take a pay cut.
He wants your money!
And surely enough, LaShawn McCoy traded to the Buffalo Bills for Kiko Alonso, and I guess that freed up cap space, which eventually they'd use for the most part. I mean, essentially to bring Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray here in whatever capacity they were brought in. I'm not gonna, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna get overly critical again with how that happened. The bottom line is that's how LaShawn McCoy was replaced, and I'm pretty satisfied with how LaShawn McCoy was replaced. But again, it was another situation where it's like, well, there's this speculation surrounding LaShawn McCoy possibly being, not being on this team, and surely enough, things came true there. And then Jeremy Maclin, I mean, the whole thing with him, I mean, again, another situation that they didn't, I guess they didn't want to pay him as much as Jeremy Maclin's former head coach here at the Philadelphia Eagles, Andy Reid, wanted to pay him, and certainly, I mean,
let's go have a ham sandwich.
Brought Jeremy Maclin over, and perhaps next year, with him in the mix, they actually will not have a goose egg as far as wide receivers catching touchdown passes goes. But anyways, so you had that, and then of course you had, the whole, for months, perhaps, like once Nick Foles got hurt, of course, and was basically done for the season even. And this was mid-season when Mark Sanchez, stepped in for Nick Foles after Foles broke his collarbone and was banged and was, I guess pretty much slated to miss the rest of the season, barring maybe the last game, maybe a possible playoff game. But then it's one of these things where, well, if Sanchez at least, plays well enough for the Eagles to hold their own and finish and earn a playoff spot, then there's you don't really bring Nick Foles back in there, I guess. And essentially it was Mark Sanchez's job for the rest of the season, even though the Eagles would fall short of making the playoffs this year with a 10-6 record. And, that surely enough, that presented the whole, that fueled the rumors that, well, Nick Foles, as we continue to get interrupted here, just randomly, even if it's for like a split second, it's one of these things now where, all right, well, Nick Foles, I mean, he's not the ideal franchise quarterback for Chip Kelly. He had that, he had that great 27-2 season, whatever. And as we all said, we have to bring, we have to see what Nick Foles does in year two. And I mean, it was one of these things. The Eagles were winning in spite of Nick Foles having overall some, pretty troublesome play out there, and really not looking like the 27-2 quarterback that he looked like the year before. And people, again, the excuses can come up with the bad offensive line and whatever. And then, at the end of the day, I said, well, maybe if you have more mobility, more arm strength, etc., those problems aren't gonna happen as much as with what happened with Nick Foles this past season. And he was basically knocked out for the season, and that was pretty much it. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, were kind of saying that's probably the last that we've seen with Nick Foles here quarterbacking the Philadelphia Eagles. And surely enough, he would get traded to the St. Louis Rams. Although you would have thought, and there were rumored deals as well, as the Eagles possibly packaging Foles to move up and, say, take the New York Jets pick. Because I remember there were reports and rumors that maybe he's going to, maybe the Jets were interested in Nick Foles. At least that's what I was hearing. And I'm sure, other people following the Eagles were perhaps thinking the same thing. Like, the Jets might be interested in him. There might be some kind of trade package deal, with draft picks and mortgaging the future and I guess all the cliched, terms that have been circulating throughout Philadelphia sports radio and even national sports radio, maybe on the, I don't know, maybe Mike and Mike in the morning with, Greenberg and Mike Golick, of course. Some more on Mike Golick a little later in the show, as he had some things to say.
Enough!
Last week.
Enough!
Speaking of Mike Golick, but we'll get to that later on the Tyler Werner show. So surely enough, Nick Foles traded to the Rams, as we kind of do like we're kind of doing I guess like an off season in review, or even just the past couple of off seasons here in review. If you throw in Deshaun Jackson and all these rumors that circulated about, this former guy who was, this former star, highly valued player, or important position player, or whatever. You talk about a quarterback who we were wondering if could possibly be the franchise quarterback in Nick Foles here. These guys from the Andy Reid era, I guess you could say, who are now all no longer here.
Time's yours.
And are now elsewhere in the league. And it's, one of these things where rumors were circulating, speculation, whatever, in every situation. And, they were just rumors. But it's just one of these things where it's like, all right, now this is it right here. And I don't know, maybe even to a lesser extent. Last month when, of course, Tim Tebow was given a workout by the Philadelphia, Chip Kelly, the Philadelphia organization. And a lot of people, including myself, kind of shot down the possibility that Tim Tebow would. It probably didn't mean anything. And surely enough, a month later, Tim Tebow gets signed by the Philadelphia Eagles a little over a month later. So, it's just one of these things where, like, whenever there's smoke here with Chip Kelly and these big names, I guess, you can call Tim Tebow, I guess, a big name. Maybe not a big talent, but a big name, nevertheless, with all the media coverage he gets and everything, and the following he has. It's just one of the, like, with Chip Kelly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And whatever rumors circulate around a situation for whatever reason, things seem to come true. And I'm hoping that Marcus Mariota, this whole thing, that as long as it's reasonable enough, and I think, there's plenty of, I think it is reasonable enough. You can make a reasonable deal. You can trade some guy. But, like Michael Kendricks now, for instance, is he gonna be used perhaps in a trade situation? Because now, and Matt Barkley is another name mentioned out there. There's rumors about him, and I wouldn't be surprised if, now that Tim Tebow's been signed, that Matt Barkley is out of here. And Michael Kendricks, again, he intentionally scheduled a Costa Rica vacation during voluntary workouts. Is that perhaps to send a message to Chip Kelly? Is that he's not happy with the acquisition of Kiko Alonso? Is another Oregon Duck perhaps here to replace a pretty solid position as Michael Kendricks fills here? And I don't know. There's just so many situations here, so many things where you wonder if when there's smoke, is there fire? And a lot of times it's true here with the Chip Kelly era, and especially this past off season. So I don't know. I've kind of said that it's going to be hard for the Philadelphia Eagles to move up, and especially if the majority of mock drafts that have been coming out are true, that the Tennessee Titans are going to take Mariota at number 2 or Mariota. I'm hearing a discrepancy there between pronunciations. I don't know. But whatever pronunciation works for you, and I guess whatever, as long as it's not, Mariotti, like some people are, mistakenly. I've heard, I don't know, Mariotta and Mariotti, and not like Jay Mariotti or something, like the guy that used to be on Around the Horn on ESPN or something like that. Normally, if somebody gives that kind of pronunciation, it sounds like they don't know what they're talking about, and they probably don't know what they're talking about. But Mariota, whatever pronunciation I guess works here. I think we get it, but that's going to be the main topic of conversation here today. The mock drafts and whether Mariota is going to end up with the Philadelphia Eagles, what the Eagles might have to do, just the variety of possibilities, the variety of opinions from experts and theories on where Mariota is going to land and where, what the Eagles may have to do to get Marcus Mariota. So if you notice, I'm trying to. I've heard supposedly that Mariota is the correct pronunciation, so I'm trying to, I guess, call an audible there, and I guess get in the habit of saying Mariota. I don't know. It's always one of those things. You can call in at 610-683-4058, and we could just, I guess we could just forget about all this draft. We could just try to figure out how to correct, what's the correct pronunciation. But no, I mean, we're not here to do that. We're here to talk NFL draft. We're here to talk the Philadelphia Eagles and what they're going to do this NFL draft. And whether they go up and get this supposed franchise quarterback, this guy that would be a perfect fit for Chip Kelly's offense, and pretty much as close as an ideal quarterback as you can have for this system and build around. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. Or Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. This is the second to last edition of it. I might add, right here on Kutztown Radio is, this is, of course, next week is finals week, and this is the last full week of classes right here at Kutztown University for the spring semester. Yes! So, we're getting down to the wire here, and I love to hear thoughts from listeners, Philadelphia Eagle fans out there, Philadelphia sports fans, or just sports fans in general, listening right here on this beautiful Wednesday late morning, right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. We'll be right back after this.
We're Cut Pack 180, and you're listening to KU On.
It's hard for me to talk about, but I remember I was late for work and I was speeding. Then I saw the car and I hit the car, and at that point I just remember everything in slow motion, the car wrapping around me, and I kept thinking to myself, this is it, I'm going to die. Instead, I'm in the hospital. I'm going home tomorrow. But the hardest part with all this is with Andy. He doesn't look me in the eye anymore. He just kind of pats me on the hand. He probably knows that I know that he's going to leave me, and I can see that in his face just as clearly as I can see what I've done to mine.
Speeding gets you nowhere fast. A public service message brought to you by this station and the U.S. Department of Transportation.
11:25 right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Speaking of speeding, I'm going to talk about a coincidence. But it's going to be a little hint into the call out of the week. A little teaser, I guess. Coming up shortly right here in the Tyler Werner Show. Just speaking of speeding, and anyways, but we'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, speed. Obviously, what's been the riots that have been going on in Baltimore, the city of Baltimore. I mean, it's just a very unfortunate situation. Not to get too far away, with what we were normally here to talk about, but I mean the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, just see how it affects sports, and I mean the Orioles tonight now are going to play a postponed game against the White Sox in a closed stadium. I don't know who out there has heard about that, but I mean it's just it's a very unfortunate situation. Obviously, you know, people have their opinions on it, and I mean, to be frank, I mean, to be, I guess, brief, for at least from my perspective, I mean, violence, and I'm sure a lot of people, violence is not going to solve anything here. I mean, it's coming together and trying to understand one another, you know, the sides of one another, and sometimes, I guess, you know, when it comes to race, and, you know, kind of just knowing that you can't, it's hard to, I guess, relate, or I guess understand how you know, one side may feel if you're not of a particular race or whatever, you'll never really understand how it is, I guess, to I don't know, but the bottom line, I mean, there's a difference between protesting and just overdoing it, and I mean destroying buildings and setting cars on fire. I mean, what is that? What's that going to solve? That's not, you know, what point is that going to prove exactly? It's not, you know, it's just, we're in a day and age, you know, we just got to negotiate. We got to do things by negotiating. It just goes across, I mean, there's other subjects. I mean, there was a time where, you know, we thought, or some of us thought that, you know, physically abusing a child was a way to discipline a child, and we evolved, or at least we're supposed to be evolving and realizing that there's better ways to discipline. We got to negotiate. We got to, you know, use our words wisely and, you know, negotiate, not resort to violence. I mean, that's at least if we all, you know, could think that way. I mean, that would certainly help get us on the track to solve a lot of problems and prevent a lot of other problems from arising. So this is, you know, I mean, from a sports standpoint, I mean, I guess for the Orioles, I mean, they won't be performing in front of their fans tonight. They'll lose 3 home games. They understood the situation and they didn't have any complaints. And, you know, Orioles manager Buck Showalter said in a phone interview, you know, it's all about what's best for the city and the safety of our people. The last thing you want to do is put the fans in harm's way. You have to err on the side of safety, you know, with all that's going on right now. So that's interesting in the sports world. I mean, it's not ideal, certainly, but you know, nevertheless, for those who were, you know, I guess didn't know about that, there's a little factoid. I guess it's, you know, with the Baltimore Orioles today, and you know, I guess talk about, you know, I guess anything to really talk about with the Phillies. I mean, coming off of a 5-11 loss yesterday to the St. Louis Cardinals, and they got a few more games.
These are suffering, and this is our moment of great despair.
A few more games against, you know, them, one of the better teams in baseball, to start the season off. So, you know, we continue to roll on through the Phillies season, or I guess try to roll on and try to, I guess, look forward to better days when it comes to Philadelphia Phillies baseball. And again, I mean, it's, you know, again, this Phillies baseball, I mean, of course, and anything else Philadelphia sports right now is pretty much completely overshadowed by what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. You know, I mean, again, I mean, some would, like myself, I mean, it's like, you know, it's more enticing than Christmas Eve was than when you were a child, and, you know, looking forward to, you know, well, if you were, you know, part of a family that celebrated Christmas, I guess, you know, obviously in the contemporary modern day Christmas or whatever, like most people would celebrate, I guess, unless you were, part of another, you celebrate Hanukkah or whatever. Maybe you didn't, but you get the point. This is a big, especially, this draft more than ever, I mean, is just the scope of it. And with all that surrounds the Philadelphia Eagles here, and with what I kind of say is at stake here, I mean, I just put this into perspective that I don't know that, I'm just very skeptical of Sam Bradford being able to come in here and be the franchise quarterback that is going to lead this team to its first Super Bowl championship. And, ideally more after that. I mean, obviously you try to win every year, certainly. But certainly the Eagle fans out there would be happy with one, just that first Super Bowl championship, obviously. And I'm not, now, I'm skeptical of Bradford being a franchise quarterback. I mean, I guess that doesn't mean that, I'm not saying that he can't win a Super Bowl, but you're going to have to really build a monster defense, I think. I mean, I think the Eagles have a decent defense now with what they did in the secondary and the rest of the personnel they have. But not a monster defense like, a la Seattle or whatever. And, the running game can definitely be good. They don't have any, they could use some receiving help, obviously. But so I'm not ruling out the possibility that, Sam Bradford stays healthy and that they can win a Super Bowl. But I think the chances, especially with Chip Kelly's offensive-minded head coaching position here, or whatever, however you want to word it, I'm very, optimistic, I guess, or whatever. I'm pessimistic about the idea that Bradford would be the guy to lead this team to a Super Bowl. And again, can he stay healthy? That's, another one of the underlying themes when it comes to Sam Bradford. Because Mark Sanchez, I mean, right, if things go, I can't expect him either to do that. And, whether, God forbid if Tim Tebow, Sanchez gets hurt or whatever, Tim Tebow is the guy that has to lead this team for the rest of the season or whenever. I don't care what, maybe some people are going to say he's drastically improved his abilities and his throwing abilities and whatever. And I don't know, it's going to be a much better quarterback. Maybe they have that fantasy going right now. But I certainly would not concur with that. So I mean, but again, I mean, I've said before, like Mariota though would be the ideal quarterback, and some people say you have to give up a lot to get him, and yeah, I mean that's true. But I mean, if you get the ideal franchise quarterback, and he's he works out like. First of all, if Marcus Mariota would just totally bust or whatever here with Chip Kelly, I mean that's the ultimate testament to that essentially Chip Kelly's a bust. If he has the ideal quarterback that he said himself is going to win multiple Super Bowls here in this league, whether he's on another team or on the Philadelphia Eagles, then that's the ultimate Chip Kelly bust right there, and that's his epitaph right there as far as I'm concerned. But, I don't see why he'd be a total bust, Marcus Mariota, given his skill set and everything else that comes with, I mean, character-wise, whatever else you want to throw out there. But, and especially with Chip Kelly and having this offense being able to come in here and everything else. And how certainly the offense is designed to take advantage of the abilities that Marcus Mariota has. And, I mean, it's a position that if you can secure, I mean, Donovan McNabb, I mean, when we had, I mean, he wasn't he never won a Super Bowl and everything, but certainly we had him in coming into every NFL season pretty much with him until he was ousted here from Philadelphia. We were able to come into the season knowing we had a franchise quarterback. Like, that's not, every offseason we didn't have to worry about that position for a decade.
I'm embarrassed.
Things didn't, ultimately result in a Super Bowl, but it's a position that if you have shored up, which I don't, with given Marcus Mariota's skill set and his connection to Chip Kelly, and with what Chip Kelly was at least able to do, even with Mark Sanchez and with Nick Foles when he had Deshaun Jackson here, of course, maybe if you can, maybe get some more threats like that on your offense. Seeing and this was with a pretty bad defense as well. Personnel-wise in the secondary, you could say go on, but with these drawbacks, I mean, he was still able to accomplish some things, and maybe to some extent, I don't know, turn water into some wine. I mean, I don't know. I make that reference at times, but I think that, with Marcus Mariota, it would really shore up a lot of things here in the quarterback situation. You wouldn't have to, enter every offseason, for years, you would think, ideally, as long as the Eagles are competing every year and, hopefully win a Super Bowl, as everybody in the Eagles fan base is just chomping at the bit to see here with Chip Kelly and whoever else he brings here in this organization. I would think with also now a decent defense that they have that was improved, that'll maybe be able to get off the field more often on third down, because that was oftentimes, on a passing down, the secondary would, blow it or something. And, say what you want, but Kerry Williams would have to hold a wide receiver to even stay with him, or Bradley Fletcher would just not, look back at the ball at all as it's getting thrown. He'd just look at the receiver and not put hands up or anything, not look back for the ball. Now it's, and you can say as much as you want about Nate Allen as well, but, we don't have to worry about that as much now. And you got a pretty good, I guess, an ideal running game here to work with. I mean, the offensive line, there's some guys, younger guys, I guess, that showed decent enough promise to, exchange a few guys there in the offensive line. And again, I've mentioned this before. If you have Marcus Mariota behind the an offensive line that, say, like Nick Foles struggle, it's different. That takes a little more pressure off the offensive line. When you have Nick Foles, backpedaling and stuff and holding on to the football or whatever, not being able to get out of the pocket as well. You got, LaShawn McCoy dancing in the backfield too much, trying to make bust out this big run, make that big cut and everything, or maybe you just have backs there now who, whether it's a mediocre offensive line or not, are just going to run straight forward, and maybe that makes things a little easier for the offensive line of the running game. And quarterback-wise, you have a more mobile quarterback who's maybe going to get rid of the football sooner. I don't know. It's just a lot of things that stem from it. Now, from the KUR Notebook, attention KU community, the Delaware Valley Historic Radio Club hosts the Kutztown Antique Radio Meet on May 8th and 9th, starting each day at 7 a.m. at Renninger's Farm Market in Kutztown. Free camping, free parking, free admission. Exhibitor tables available. For more information, go to www.dvhrc.info. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. As I mentioned earlier, we have a speeding related call out of the week coming up, since we'll get to that on the other side as we have to hit the next break right here in the Tyler Werner Show. So we'll do that. Number to get in, 610-683-4058, as we'll get into all kinds of more draft discussion as we go through the show here. And I guess an Easter egg here or there, I guess, is a reference as to something that's not entirely related to what we're talking about. But nevertheless, just something that, I guess, regarding, I guess, going forward, since I won't be on KUR anymore, just a little, I guess, examples of some of the things, I'm kind of planning on the future, I guess, discussion on that. Well, we'll get to it when we get to it, right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio.
ThePeopleChronicles.com is a community storytelling project out of Berks County. Uplifting, challenging, moving stories. Everyday people sharing their lives, their stories with all of us. If you are looking to be inspired and you want to share your story, find us today at ThePeopleChronicles.com.
And you can hear the People Chronicles every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. here on the radio voice, KUR.
If you don't follow this law, you could be fined. So remember, wipers on, headlights on. It's the law. To learn more about traffic safety, visit justdrivepa.com.
Brought to you by PennDOT and this station.
All right, yeah, I'm trying to come back to some music here, but this computer is just slacking today. So unfortunately,
what is going on back there?
I don't know, but so nevertheless, we'll proceed through here without coming back to music, I guess. But you know what? Actually, it's It's mostly the internet. It's not the soundboard here or anything. Should not have any trouble activating this music to signify the Tyler Werner Show call out.
It's time for Tyler Werner's call out of the week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
As I hinted at, 20 minutes ago or so, we came back from the first commercial break. There was a PSA, obviously advocating that we do not speed out there in the road and whatever. And there's so many other things we could advocate out there on the road these days. I don't know, maybe people using turd signals, stuff like that. Maybe people not drinking and driving, and etc. And I don't know, maybe. I mentioned drinking and driving. Maybe that had something to do with this week's call out of the week. It happens to be somebody, I believe it or not, I went to school with, I guess. It was I guess a couple grades above me. I played some football with him, actually. I believe I was on the track team as well. He was on the track team as well one year when I was, I guess, a sophomore, perhaps. I won't, I guess, mention him by name or whatever, so as not to attract outside attention. But many people, I guess, referred to him as Bello. So we'll just call him Bello. And I don't know if there's anybody out there listening. Maybe you know who I'm talking about when I say, if you're from that Governor Mifflin circle. But Bello, read this on Reading Eagle, and I was shocked when I got it up and the article up, and I knew the name. It's one of those things like, oh my, like, I know that guy, once played football with him and etc. So Bello was clocked doing 130 miles per hour during chase, authorities say. This was per Reading Eagle. And this, again, I don't know. I saw a comment posted on the posting of this on Facebook, and I don't know, somebody said, maybe there's, I don't know, which is another, just unfortunate issue in and of itself that is certainly call-out worthy here. But regardless, this is call-out worthy right here, and just a reminder for everybody to be safe out in the road, and just, like, me not understand, like, what is the idea of this. So, Cumberland Township man led state police on a wild car chase over the weekend through Muhlenberg Township and several other Berks County municipalities, traveling at 130 miles per hour in both directions on Route 222, authorities say Monday. Now look at that. I mean, I can't, like, my car doesn't even, for one thing, my car can't even go 130 miles per hour. Troopers from the Reading station twice cut off pursuit after trying to stop Bello, age 25, on Route 222 shortly before 3 a.m. Sunday, according to court papers. He remained at large on Monday. Troopers used the vehicle license plate to obtain a license photo of him, whom they recognized as the driver. They obtained an arrest warrant for him. He's charged with fleeing or attempting to elude police, reckless driving, and multiple counts each of reckless endangerment, running stop signs, and related traffic violations. Now, this is according to troopers. About 2:30 a.m. Sunday, already, not a good time. Troopers were monitoring traffic in a patrol vehicle on the westbound shoulder of Route 12 near Route 61. So, I mean, this is stretching a pretty significant distance here. When a black Hyundai Genesis coupe approached at a speed, they clocked at 98 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. They pulled out to follow, but were unable to get close enough to initiate a traffic stop. The car exited the highway at the River Road exit, and they caught up to it at the intersection of Ribbert Road and Ashburn Drive. Emergency lights were turned on to try to pull him over, but he turned right onto Danner Drive, then ran a stop sign across Glenside Drive and around in Hilldale Court, and drove past the trooper's vehicle. Both troopers got a clear look at the occupants of the coupe as it passed them and noted there were 3 passengers. So it turned on from Glendale onto Tuckerton Road, weaving through Riverview Park streets before emerging onto Route 61 after running a red light on Stouts Ferry Bridge Road. The car headed south on Route 61 to Route 222 northbound, traveling at a sustained speed of 130 miles per hour. Then it exited Route 222 in Onley Township and made an illegal turn to get back on the 222 south. Headed at a speed of 130 miles per hour until exiting at Spring Ridge Drive in Spring Township. Troopers ended pursuit and waited onto the shoulder near the entrance ramp to northbound Route 222. 2 other troopers joined them in a different patrol car. Within 5 minutes, the same coupe they had been chasing passed them, headed north on Route 222. The troopers in the other car chased the car with emergency lights on, and the chase resumed, again reaching 130 miles per hour for several miles. Those troopers cut off chase after losing sight of the coupe in the area of Route 662 in Richmond Township. It was pretty close to around here. So, I mean, there you go. This was a pretty large-scale chase going on right here. And, again, I don't this what began like 2:30 in the morning and, on Sunday, and it's just one of those things, and, nothing, they can't be up to any good at that point. And, that's just, and I mean, you're putting so many people in endangerment, and I'm just speaking the obvious here by saying that, but, and again, to me, it's even more unfortunate when I know who this is, and I've played, I played football with him in high school. In fact, I remember about a year ago, I played some pickup basketball with him, and my dad and some other guys in a weekly pickup basketball ordeal, I guess you could say. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate. I know who this is, and maybe not everybody does, but that's the call out of the week right there. I don't know what more to say other than what are you doing? And I don't know. I mean, it's some people get behind the wheel, and I don't know. There's places out there for driving. I guess special designated locations where you can drag race and drive 130 miles per hour or whatever, but don't do it on the routes that I drive on every day and that many of us drive on every day, and that we have reports on traffic reports here on KUR for several times every day. It's just one of those things. So that's the call out of the week right here in the Tyler Werner Show. I guess a guy some people in the Governor Mifflin circle would refer to as Bello, or at least I referred to.
Who is this?
With creating a very dangerous situation on 222, and just I don't know. I maybe I have no idea. Maybe playing trying to play a real life version of Grand Theft Auto or something. But anyways, we move on to let's get back to the business right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Since the call out of the week didn't really involve anything in the sports world, we'll roll along here and get back to the sports talk right here on the Tyler Werner Show. And again, the theme obviously is for today is, do the Eagles do they get Marcus Mariota? It's a very interesting situation. I mean, people are calling this like a potential, I guess, marriage here with Marcus Mariota and Chip Kelly. I mean, does the deal get done? Is some kind of trade move made up here? Will Chip Kelly and Marcus Mariota be quote unquote married here in the NFL on this Philadelphia Eagles organization? It's one of those things people are referring to as a possible marriage here in the NFL of the ages, as the internet just continues to have issues, and just there we go. Just totally pause the bridal chorus here that we had going here for a second. All right, we're back. We got that together again. So I mean, it's a big situation. I mean, it gives you chills thinking about it, or it gives me chills thinking about it. With if some kind of deal is done, and then suddenly the Philadelphia Eagles, Marcus Mariota is still on the board wherever this deal could possibly end up being in the draft numbers wise, and it's just one of these things. Like Roger Goodell comes out and says, with the whatever pick in the NFL draft, the Eagles select Marcus Mariota. I now pronounce you franchise quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles with Chip Kelly, and that's that's really that. Instead of throwing flowers, maybe they'll have some NFL officials up there throwing yellow flags or something. I don't know. Who knows? But that's really what we're looking at right here. Does the deal get done? Or a deal get done? Because I say and there's several possible does, it seems. Is it the Titans? I don't know. I mean, we got, I got some mock draft, I guess, intel here that we can get into as we go through the show today on the Tyler Werner Show. But does the deal get done? And depending on what it is, I mean, are people in favor? I mean, if you're going to give up, like, to trade up, I mean, obviously, if you give up Bradford somewhere, I mean, obviously that's a given. I mean, the $13 million salary, and again, I mean, when he was brought here it was just a question mark for many of us. And the only thing we could think is, for the most part, well, it might be used as a trade piece or whatever. But then time goes by, and I don't know, there's people saying now, Bradford is kind of like Foles, but he has more experience running a hurry-up offense in his Oklahoma days and things like that. And I don't know, but many people have continued to speculate that Bradford would be a trade piece here. And so, I mean, obviously, if he's packaged in any deal, I mean, that's no skin off any of our bones, really. But it's other things. It's obviously giving up this year's first round pick for that, and then maybe next year's and the year after. Giving up more, packaging Michael Kendricks in there, Fletcher Cox. I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see. First of all, if something is going to get done, when it might get done in the draft, or if maybe, Marcus Mariota's swept up by Tennessee without hesitation in the draft, and then, already right off the bat, we are, I guess we get over the whole idea of Eagles trading up to get Marcus Mariota or anything like that. Although, I got to say even then, people are going to be talking about after that, well, maybe how do the Eagles maybe try to get Marcus Mariota here, even though they weren't able to draft him? I know the conversations are going to continue to circle surrounding, in whatever way possible, how can the Eagles get Marcus Mariota here? So I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's many possibilities here. We'll talk about them coming up in the next segment right here in the Tyler Werner Show. As we proceed through, as we roll on through. And I'm Facebook friends with Matt Walsh, who has joined us on the Tyler Werner Show a couple times in the past. And we'll see. I don't know.
Matt, how you been?
Yeah, I've been trying to... I'm surprised he hasn't joined us in a while. I mean, he's always welcome to join us. But I noticed yesterday he had... he has an interesting viewpoint on... the Eagles trading up, perhaps, to get Marcus Mariota. And it'll be interesting to see, if he'd be willing to come on and talk about it on the Tyler Werner Show today. If not, it's okay. But either way, I'm sure in some capacity I'll bring it up later on the Tyler Werner Show as we roll through here. Another KU announcement from the KUR notebook. Here we go. I don't want to read an outdated advertisement here, KUR notebook announcement. So before I start doing that, I'll catch myself and just make it clear that that's not what I'm going to do. And I'm going to read one that is still relevant. And this one being Thursday, April 30th, tomorrow, 11 to 11:50 a.m. in the McFarland Student Union Building, room 250, successful interviewing. Jobs are won in interviews. Those who interview the best fare the best. Find out what you must do before, during, and after your interview. Learn what to bring with you, including your questions for the employer. Discover how to eliminate surprises, reduce anxiety, and to analyze your strengths and weaknesses. Give yourself the advantage over the competition. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And with that in mind, we will hit halftime on the Tyler Werner Show. Come back on the other side. More draft talk as always. And whatever else coming up here on the Tyler Werner Show. Right here on Kutztown Radio.
Life can have some pretty embarrassing moments. Getting sick in the middle of class. Accidentally walking in on your parents celebrating a romantic evening. Paying too much attention to your text messaging rather than your driving.
Oh, no!
Getting caught not listening to KUR. Huh? Now that's the most serious. 1670 AM. On your television at select times of the day at Service Electric Cable Channel 24, Hometown Utilicom Cable Channel 28, online at kur.kutztown.edu, and on your regular telephone by calling 610-465-7860. This is KUR Kutztown. Don't get caught without it.
In addition to all the other methods mentioned, if you're in the Lehigh Valley, you can listen to KUR and Service Electric 266. KUR can also be heard in select campus buildings like the MSU, Rickenbach, Stratton, Rec Center, and Keystone at 88.3 FM.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. Tuesday was April 28th, but it was also a new holiday. The Pennsylvania Senate has adopted a resolution observing every April 28th as Workers' Memorial Day here in Pennsylvania. Here's more with Senator Rob Teplitz of Dauphin County, sponsor of the resolution.
My resolution designates April 28, 2015 as Workers' Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Workers' Memorial Day is observed each year throughout the world in honor of our fellow workers who have lost lives or suffered injuries or illnesses as a result of workplace accidents. The day also commemorates the anniversary of the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA, which took effect on April 28, 1971. Throughout the industrial history of our Commonwealth, Pennsylvania residents are all too aware of terrible workplace accidents and have heard calls for safety measures by workers in local industries such as mining and manufacturing. In past decades, elected officials and business leaders have responded by approving and implementing important workplace protections and safety regulations like OSHA, which offer protections to workers in many sectors. Workers' Memorial Day reminds us of the importance of these laws and underscores the need to remain attentive to the safety of all of our workers. Through this resolution, we honor the thousands of individuals who have succumbed to workplace fatalities, as well as the millions who have suffered workplace injuries. We can also appreciate the value of each and every member of our workforce and reaffirm our commitment to safe working environments. And so, Mr. President, I ask my colleagues to join me in recognizing April 28, 2015 as Workers' Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Mr. President.
Back here at Kutztown University, KU has decided not to implement a per-credit tuition model at KU for 2015-16. In a statement to the campus community, Dr. Carlos Vargas, acting president of KU, says the decision is based on recent developments with the governor's proposed budget, as well as extensive feedback they received from campus. Vargas says the campus will continue to monitor the budget situation closely in the months ahead and will continue to work together with the campus community to develop solutions to the challenges. Checking KUR Sports, the 2015 season came to a close Monday night for the KU and Albright baseball teams inside First Energy Stadium, the home of the Reading Fightin' Phils. Kutztown took the annual non-conference matchup for the sixth consecutive time by a score of 8-1. Congratulations. Monsoon Mike says we can expect some nice weather until things go back downhill on Thursday. For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
5 after 12, right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. As we move along through the day here, beautiful afternoon. As month of May is just right around the corner, and obviously this is the last week, last regular week here of classes here for the spring semester. For myself, and finals week is next week.
Hallelujah!
Just about, yeah. just about done. And certainly, that's that means next week will be the last edition of the Tyler Werner Show right here on KUR. So obviously next week, we're gonna break down. We're gonna break down what happened in the NFL draft after it happens. We got a lot of, talk about a very intriguing last show here on KUR, the week after the draft, the Wednesday after the NFL draft, and what the Eagles, who they get, whether or not that includes Marcus Mariota or not. Should definitely be an interesting last show. But I mentioned earlier, about my set, like what I might be doing going forward here, and although I'll be done here on KUR, and although I may hopefully be doing an internship at 93.3 WMMR, as they're very busy, and I, should be getting around to scheduling interviews there soon. But as I do that, I still want to keep up with doing sports talk on my own time and whatever here. This is it's always been fun doing it here on KUR, but I've been looking to as I get a new computer soon as well, and have some decent equipment to work with and the right computer programming. I was looking to continue sports talk via the podcast method, because I don't really have my own, I don't really have a radio station operating. If I can just, if I have the equipment, I can do things at home. I can, proceed, kind of without missing a beat. So I do intend to continue to, at least on a weekly basis, talk Philadelphia sports, and I continue posting podcasts on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Kind of just continue where I leave off here with KUR. The only difference being that, it's not that I'm not doing these podcasts live on KUR, but I'm doing them in, I guess, my own capacity, and without the, I guess all the public service announcements and KUR related and Kutztown University related things in general tied in there. So actually, I had an idea of making mock PSAs for the future. Like when I would do these podcasts, kind of just to kind of make it like a radio show, sort of, even though it's a podcast, but have my own personal touches to it, I guess you could say, because I'm not gonna have paid advertisers, obviously, or anything. It kind of just be my own, me doing my own thing. But I'd like to, I guess, continue to have a radio vibe doing this, doing sports talk and everything, and to have we got a commercial break or whatever coming up, and who knows? Random people might like the idea. So one of the things I've been doing and may continue to do is to make these mock PSAs. And I'm about to share one with you that I made a video for, but obviously other ones I'm probably just going to make audio for, but I figured I had enough video presentation that I could, I guess, add in, kind of throw into this concept. Sports, kind of like sport-related gags, and I've had my share of gags here on the Tyler Werner Show. Especially, for instance, Deflategate. Every now and then when things come up on there, and this is an example I'll show you here. About a minute. Almost on the dot here, a mock PSA that I've designed, and there's regarding other big names in the sports world or whatever, there's bound to be more like this made in the future, and maybe when I do this podcast, and I'll have several that I can refer to, I guess, in the middle, during a podcast show or whatever. But as a spin on Deflategate and, all the things between footballs and deflated balls and with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the press conferences that they did, that, at times are just, hilarious to listen to, given that it's Bill Belichick and Tom Brady trying not to bust out laughing in the middle of the press conferences, talking, deflated footballs and rubbing footballs, and at times just, not even saying footballs, but just saying balls. It's just one of those things that inspired, for me, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. So I'll fire that up right now. Give you an idea of some of these mock PSAs that I've been working on. So here we go, as this computer is slacking
What
today.
defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those footballs out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night or doing a little catering, like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
All right, so there you go. Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. I'd like to see the video version of it, or the video of it. Just go to YouTube, type in Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, and you'll find a Photoshop job picture of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick looking down, smiling at a meatball on a fork. And so there you go. That's
to me, those balls are perfect.
That's that. As we just an example of the things I do here, mock PSAs going forward to try to continue podcasting and just things to have, I guess, circulating in my records or whatever, not records, but for keepsake and just examples of some work that, like, in the future in the radio business perhaps or whatever, like, hey, if you want some kind of PSA or some kind of segment or sound bites cut up and whatever, you have a concept and you want, I can pull this kind of stuff off pretty easily. So, it's the thing to show employers in the future, or whatever may come up. And so that's that as far as for now, for the mock PSA to share with listeners out there right here in the Tyler Werner Show. So again, getting back to the mock drafts, at 610-683-4058 is always the number to get in. I have, I've been looking at the NFL.com mock draft board, and the general consensus amongst the analysts or experts or whatever picking in the first, especially the first. I mean, all we really seem to care about is the first round. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because the rest of the rounds, I mean, who knows? I mean, it'd be nice if they can find diamond in the rough in the later round. I mean, like Seattle has done with some of their guys on defense, obviously, and you never know. I mean, hopefully they can do that. But as far as that, I mean, it's all about the first round when it comes to Marcus Mariota, and if the Eagles don't get him, I mean, do they get a highly valued wide receiver, or I don't know, another safety or something? It's just it's pretty much all about the first round here, and the Eagles getting a pedigreed player, and especially Marcus Mariota being at the top of this list. And you know what? There continues to be this advertisement in the background, and I don't, it's one of those things, I don't know where it's coming from. Actually, I think I just figured it out. I think I just found it. And I pressed the pause button, and all right. So maybe now I will not get interrupted in the background by anything else. Hopefully, because it's distracting, and I'm especially when I'm listening through, I got high quality headphones on and it's coming through the headphones. It's really, it can really be distracting.
It's like you got a problem with concentration.
Yeah, but hopefully not anymore as we proceed through the Tyler Werner Show here. Now, all right, it's been a recurring theme here on the Tyler Werner Show today that I'm, getting interrupted. But anyways, it's the pre-NFL draft edition of the Tyler Werner Show / Tyler Werner routinely gets interrupted by random ads on a webpage. But there's a Philadelphia Eagles rumor. Sam, it's going to do it again. I don't. Well, after I get through this article, I can just close this out, and maybe we won't have to worry about this at all. This is becoming really distracting. The rumor is, or one of the rumors right now on the block, I guess you could say, is Sam Bradford. There's a possible trade to the Cleveland Browns for Marcus Mariota. A draft pick for Chip Kelly, and an option if Matt Barkley is traded. Now, Matt Barkley, obviously, again, he's kind of been on the trade block, certainly more so now that Tim Tebow has been brought here to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cleveland Browns, they're apparently still interested in a Sam Bradford trade with the Philadelphia Eagles, and even though the trade might be unlikely, Chip Kelly can consider moving up to get Marcus Mariota in the draft. And this comes after Tim Tebow was signed and after they put Matt Barkley on the trade block here, perhaps. Now, according to the Cleveland Plain Dealer, the Browns remain interested in trading for Bradford, but that deal is not likely to happen with the Eagles. The Browns reportedly offered a first-round pick for Bradford earlier this offseason, and they also have sniffed around on Mike Glennon as well. The Eagles traded for Bradford from the Rams for Nick Foles, and after that deal, the media immediately speculated Kelly's next move. Kelly spoke to the media, of course, and said that Bradford would not be a trade chip about a month ago. Mariota could remain an option, but if Kelly is not trading Bradford, it could be very tough and costly to pull off, obviously. But there's no at least for me, there's no possible way they're going to bring that they're going to keep Sam Bradford and have Marcus Mariota at the same time, and Mark Sanchez, and Tim Tebow, and I guess on the practice squad or whatever. G.J. Kinney, or I don't know. I guess that would, if Matt Barkley's not here anymore, then that would probably bump Tim Tebow down to the practice squad or whatever. There's an overabundance of quarterbacks, and especially given the fact that Bradford would be eating up $13 million of your cap and would not, obviously would not be the franchise quarterback if Marcus Mariota is brought here. Bradford has to be used as a trade chip in order to get Marcus Mariota. That's the bottom line. And if the Browns valued Mariota, valued Bradford, then obviously, there could be some kind of deal done in an instant there. Now, maybe that brings Johnny Manziel to the Philadelphia Eagles, which, alongside Tim Tebow would create, an even more of a media circus and dynamic. And
you know what? Enough!
Yeah, it would just, as Mike Golick would say, would just be even more of a, perhaps media circus than we ever thought it could be. So I don't know. I mean, and again, it's not to rip Tim Tebow or whatever, but again, it's one of my main reservations with bringing Tim Tebow here is the media attention. I brought, and I think I forgot to mention it last. They got, the Philly Pretzel Factory. They got the, which, clever idea, by the way. The Tebowing pretzel shapes now that they're selling. That's very clever, of course, but it's just, again, playing on a team, like, I got to think, like, if you're one of the more premier players on this team, like, the dynamic and the distraction that can be is a little, I don't know. I'm pretty, I don't know, I guess hesitant about that, or the idea of that being on this team and how it could affect the team. Maybe, I don't know, polarize the locker room a little bit, or just create a very, I don't know, just a odd situation for the Philadelphia Eagles locker room. I know Tim Tebow's a good guy. He's got the best intentions in the world, and he's trying to, he's trying to chase his dream, and that's to play in the NFL. And I can't blame him for that. And I admire him for it. Just on this Philadelphia Eagles team, I just don't. I don't know. I really don't want the, a very odd situation there with the media circus, and how that could potentially, distract some of this Eagles team coming up. So 610-683-4058 as we hit the next break. But before that, attention KU community, get your rear in gear. Saturday, June 13th at Grange Park in Allentown. It's an effort to raise funds for colon cancer awareness. For more information, go to www.coloncancercoalition.org/Tour de Tush. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. We'll be right back after this.
Email any suggestions to kur@kutztown.edu. Complaints, concerns, questions, whatever you may be thinking at the time, it's kur@kutztown.edu.
Newsbreak is a student-run news program produced right here at Kutztown University. It features stories that affect the Lehigh Valley, as well as Berks County weather and KU sports. You can watch on Service Electric Berks and on Kutztown University campus on Channel 24 and on Hometown Utilicon Channel 28. KU TV Newsbreak. What are you watching?
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify. The pressure of the balls is a whole different story.
Yes, and again, for those who are maybe, looking for a laugh or something, or whatever, just random mock PSA, I guess, to watch your YouTube video. Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. Just type that in on YouTube, and kind of stemming from, I guess, some Deflategate humor there that has been parody, it's been parodies around that, obviously, around the internet, and, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I remember the whole, making Bill Belichick's nose grow like Pinocchio, telling lies and stuff like that. It's just, one of those things. And it was something. It was an inspiration behind making a mock PSA that you put on YouTube, and that I can maybe use in future podcasts. Since I guess my tenure here on KUR is coming to an end, but I'll want to continue with talking sports in my spare time, podcasting. As maybe I do an internship, maybe for WMMR, or whatever. Just start out in the radio business, wherever. And I guess in my spare time, put my radio practices into further use. So yeah, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. But anyways, getting back to the today, I don't know what it is, but the computers had some issues, and I don't it's between it just being slow and having advertisements interrupt. And since I'm talking about an advertisement of my own, it's been a bit, at times it's been a bit distracting, unfortunately, from the draft talk, which is ultimately what we're getting down to as we move forward here, because I have on NFL.com the analysts mock drafts here, where they have it's kind of funny. I mean, they have Daniel Jeremiah, Charles Davis, Charlie Casserly, and Lance Zierlein. He's a little unfamiliar to me. They have Bucky Brooks, and then it's kind of funny because then at the far right side they have Brian Baldinger, and now everyone seems to have Marcus Mariota in this mock draft board going second, except Bucky Brooks has him going to the Rams at number 10. So he has him sliding down. Unlike Casserly and Lance Zierlein and the other guys to the left of him getting picked by the Tennessee Titans at number 2. Supposedly he has Marcus Mariota sliding to number 10. And I don't know what other predictions people have out there. I mean, it's one of these things where it's really hard to predict where he would go, Marcus Mariota, like whether or not he would slide to that. But then on the far right, of course, I kind of brought this up a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was like 3 weeks ago by this point, on the Tyler Werner show, on how Brian Baldinger had Marcus Mariota sliding all the way down to number 20 for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was that was a tough, it was tough for me to fathom that. But now, I guess, on his latest revision to his mock draft, instead, where he has Marcus Mariota landing, is number 12. So he has him sliding down to there with this possible Eagles trade. Because it says in his mock draft, projected trade to Eagles, Marcus Mariota, number 12, the Browns. So there you go. But the thing is, again, does he slide down to even the Cleveland Browns? I mean, I just don't see that. I don't see. I mean, the Titans. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Titans could pass up on him. The odds seem kind of against that happening right now, but nevertheless, there's experts predicting that, but most people believe. I mean, the conventional belief here, I guess, is Jameis Winston number 1, and the Titans take Mariota at number 2. I mean, quarterbacks could be valuable, although, and especially in this, I mean, there's like a big drop off to me, at least to me, and maybe others, from Marcus Mariota down to Brett Hundley and Bryce Petty and some of these other guys that seem less consistent and don't have as much of a skill set and would not be as ready, perhaps for to start anywhere than these two guys. Although I guess many people would argue that Mariota on another team, and there's some truth to it that he wouldn't totally be ready to start himself if he'd be on another system, given that he'd have to adjust to a different style offense than what he's used to, and in the NFL adjustment and everything too. I mean, I would to some extent. I mean, Jameis Winston would also have to adjust to the speed of the NFL. But I mean, there's only one Andrew Luck that comes around every decade or so, where the guy's ready for the NFL right away, and stuff like that. So it's I just kind of look at that and I don't really care, But anyways, Brian Baldinger has again, I can't even scroll down, having like all kinds of computer issues these days. And I hear as I leave KUR, I guess next week, I heard how they're getting new computers and stuff and upgrading. Yeah, sure. Like right once after I finish up, that's when we get the new computers and everything, and move away from the Windows XPs, I guess, and whatever else. But anyways, no, I'm not to knock anybody, but just a little inside joke there. And yeah, again, I mean, between all the background noises and everything that's been popping up here in this show, just randomly at times, it's been an unfortunate distraction. At least from my perspective here today on the Tyler Werner Show, and hopefully next week on the last edition here we won't have those problems. Let alone with slow computers as well. But so anyways, I mean we'll proceed through here. I wanted to I guess a little earlier than usual. I wanted to get to this segment. If it'll load, please. There we go.
It's time for Tyler Werner's MVP of the week.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I could, if somebody could come in here and maybe reboot these computers and figure out how to get them back up to speed, back to normal, maybe they'd be the MVP of the week. But anyways. No, this week's, I hinted at this earlier too. I like dropping hints every now and then. This week's MVP of the week is Mike Golic from, of course, ESPN. I mean, if you don't know Mike Golic, I mean, in the sports world, then I don't know what you're doing. But it was last week on Mike and Mike in the Morning. And yeah, you can watch it on ESPN too if you don't listen to it already. But it's like Mike Golic had this pretty intense rant, I guess you could say. The Dallas Cowboys, they acquired Greg Hardy, who's going to be he's slated to be suspended 10 games without pay for detrimental conduct detrimental to the NFL. And I'll let Golic explain it. In his rant, because he went, and I don't always agree with him, but I agree with him on this issue, and they had a special camera cut to him. He's sitting there with his arms folded as it begins his 3.5 minute rant or whatever it is on this, and they have looking into the camera and everything, where Golic basically says Greg Hardy, sit down and
sit
stuff
down
like that. Yeah, sometimes it sounds like he's talking to him like a dog or something, like he's talking to his dog or something. But anyways, so I'll play Mike Golic's rant from last week on the Mike and Mike show on the suspension, and I'll let him kind of explain, I guess. Also what I feel about this new acquisition of a pass rusher on the Dallas Cowboys defense.
10 games, what was your initial reaction?
Great. I mean, there's part of me that's wondering if we're losing sight of things. Because the first thing I heard when 10 games came out was, let's take the next chance to rip the league and rip Roger Goodell. Rip them for what they're doing. Rip them for this, rip them for that. Instead of doing that first, do we maybe want to look at the report on what Greg Hardy did and maybe start with the reason we're here in the friggin' first place? Maybe? Before we start ripping, it's a reaction to the two-game array. Rice, what's he doing? He has too much power. Okay, the bottom line is, here's where we are. The new policy in place says the league can look into the situation. Take the NFL out of it and everything out of it and just put company here, person here, and say they're allowed to investigate. You can like it or not like it, but they're allowed to investigate. They were given access. They investigated. They came up with 4 instances in this one situation where he used physical force against her, which caused her to land in a bathtub. He used physical force against her, which caused her to land on a futon that was covered with at least 4 semi-automatic rifles. Third, he used physical abuse against her by placing his hands around her neck, applying enough pressure to leave visible marks. Fourth, he used physical force to shove her against a wall in his apartment, in the apartment's entry hallway. Why don't we look at that and say, you know what, enough! Enough! Take your 10 games, sit your down, and wait to play. Okay? Because of what you did. But no, we got to start ripping the league first and go ahead and send your emails and your tweets about, oh, you're back in the league. I'm not back in the league. I don't care if this was the NFL. I don't care if it was Apple. I don't care if it was Google. I don't care if those companies, their CEO had the power they have and did the same thing. Let's look at what happened. Okay? Read that. He was convicted of that by a judge. And then he got to go to court. I understand that. And she didn't show up, so everybody assumes the payoff of why she didn't show up. But now the league is allowed to investigate. They investigated and they found this, the same report that we saw. So they punished him. Why don't we just say, you know what? Good. Make him sit down for a while. I know he sat last year, but you know what he sat down and got? $13 million. Make him sit down. What's so wrong with that? Let's not lose sight of he has too much power. The league is making a joke of this. The league made another mistake. They made tons of mistakes. I agree with you completely there. But you know what? Let's just look at this. Greg Hardy, sit down. Sit down for what you did. Sit for your 10 games. Don't get your money. And then after you sit for your 10 games, come back and sack the quarterback all you want. I'm fine with that. Come back and do your thing because you are a fantastic pass rusher. But sit for your 10 games. That's what I'm going to look at first before we get into the appeals, which he's probably going to win, and all that other stuff. I would rather start at what the hell he did first, other than, oh, let's rip the people that disciplined him. You got it mixed up. You got it mixed up. All right, I'm done.
There it was. Mark Golick last week on Mike and Mike in the Morning. Yeah, to me, that rant was roaring round of applause worthy, and certainly that's what we give him after that. An MVP of the week, Mike Golick, on that rant. And yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, you talk about the Cowboys and with, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, another one of these frightening situations in the league, and of course how they mishandled the Ray Rice situation that was going on last year. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, it's just, yeah, the guy, as Golick said, should be sitting down.
Sit down.
As far as I'm concerned, and yeah, I wonder too. I mean, if Greg Hardy is not, you know, in the first 10 games, I mean, maybe how that'll affect the Cowboys' defense, certainly, because the Cowboys, last year, the Cowboys' defense, they weren't as bad as people thought they would be, but certainly when you had DeMarco Murray in there really helping take a lot of pressure off of the Cowboys' defense and everything, and, their great offensive line, that certainly maybe helped out the defense without question. So yeah, that's the MVP of the week, and again, a fine fine rant there out of Mike Golick. 610-683-4058. Getting to the end of the show here, so we'll hit the next break and come back on the other side and finish up the discussion for today. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
In olden days. Hey there, cats and chicks. If you like variety in your music and a swing in your step, join me, Lise Avery, each week for Anything Goes. You never know what you'll hear on Anything Goes. It's a hip mix of swing, jazz, standards, and Broadway, and a little bit of just about anything else. So join me for the absolute best in popular song on Anything Goes.
Sundays from noon to 1 here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
It's on us to stop being a bystander to the problem of sexual assault.
It's on us
to stop the sexual assault any way we can.
It's on us to change the way we talk about women.
Take reports of sexual assault seriously.
To look out for someone that has had too much to drink.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community,
to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
Do we maybe want to look at the reason we're here in the friggin' first place?
It's the Tyler Werner Show, 12:43 on this beautiful little, late April day right here, and no rain, pretty clear skies, 70s today. Certainly a nice day to not have anything to do this evening, like myself, or